If the last round was a hot knife through butter, this one is going to be more like a rune chant through a necrophilia guy. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. It's going to be Gravy Bones versus Florian Rotwood Harbinger. And there's some familiar faces that we're going to have on stream here. One is probably less of a familiar face and more of a familiar name. But we'll get back to that in just a second. Put a pin in it, ladies and gentlemen, because before we do anything, we need to thank our new sponsor out in the East. That's Grave Troll Games, and owner Katie Lamar has been absolutely fantastic to us and to the AGE brand in general. Her store has just opened up at the beginning of this month. I believe June 4th or something like that was their grand opening, and she is ecstatic to have us. It's important to mention that she is so excited that she's got a little bit of a Arcane Rising box break coming up later on. The name of the app is blank. It's called Whatnot, I want to say. It's the app or the streaming service. Honestly, I've never visited it where you just watch people open cards, right?
Mm-hmm. Very popular. You got it the first time despite claiming not to know what it is.
Well, I'm sandbagging you as well as myself, as well as our audience. But so she's got an Arcane Rising box break coming up on Whatnot at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to tune in and join her for the celebration and see if she rips a cold foil Eye of Ophidia. Wait, no cold foil Eye of Ophidia, right? Or yes?
It's hard to track what's still available. I think that one is still out there. I'm sure somebody in the comments.
That's in the treasure pack. She's opening Arcane Rising.
Oh. Right. Well, I wasn't playing then, so
honestly,
I
wasn't either, so I can't remember if there are cold foils of the Eye of Ophidia. But bottom line, she's going to be trying to rip something really exciting from Arcane Rising. What the heck? How about a couple original Command and Conquers and Art of War? Excuse me. No, not Command and Conquer. Art of Wars, a now banned card.
Yeah. Well, it's perfectly primed for your Living Legend deck. LSS 100%. Is supporting the format, so I wouldn't say no to an Art of War.
Chain is still rocking, baby. Before we proceed on down to the match area, let's go ahead and take a look at the player profile for our aptly named guest, Justin Gottlieb. And yeah, if you are doing a double take on that last name, it is indeed the brother of Mr. Brian Gottlieb, lead developer at Legend Story Studios. His brother plays the game, and I'm sure in a way to support his I don't know if he's a bigger brother or a littler brother in his endeavors.
Yeah, and hard to judge based on aura. I did meet Justin in Vegas. I got paired into him during the limited calling. They're sealed, and got absolutely demolished by his disgusting Marlin sealed deck. So makes a lot of sense to me that Justin would be at an 86% win percentage, which is seeming like a popular win percentage among the better players over there at the AG East Coast.
If that's not special enough, Justin can slice any loaf of bread anywhere in the world through telekinesis. That's going to be a hard one to confirm, but I'm just going to take his word for it.
Yeah, and based on the way that I've seen Justin play, you could tell me he's capable of literally anything. And the last answer there implies that his internal monologue's got some stuff going on. So maybe one such thing is telekinesis.
He's also got that 86% win percentage at AGE thus far in his career, which granted, he's only played one event so far, I want to say, and he made top 8 of that one. So he's only played 7 rounds in AGE so far. But that being said, he is still sporting a really impressive win percentage.
Yeah, and obviously off to a good start here. Well, maybe not obviously, as he's started 1-0 in his first round, and round 2 going to be up against another seasoned player in his own right, Pheano Black.
Well, let's go ahead and proceed on down then. It's been foretold that Gravy Bones is a pretty bad matchup for Justin's hero, Florian Rotwood Harbinger. Nevertheless, he is a mainstay on the Earth Runeblade, and so he wants to hold on to his Earth cards as long as he possibly can. Let's see if he has the sauce to get it done against Mr. Bones.
Yeah, Flesh and Blood is full of very confident players. I myself am not very confident, and I don't know. We're so early in this Gravy meta. I don't know for certainty what matchups are poor into Gravy. I mean, I'm getting a sense that Syndra is quite good in the Gravy, but it'll be interesting to see how Florian, who is, I believe, one of the more represented heroes at US Nats at the very least, and last meta was one of the premier heroes to go against what is, I think, indisputably the most popular hero of the new meta.
Earth was definitely out in force at U.S. Nationals. Justin was in attendance at that event. I can't remember if he played U.S. Nats or not, but so was his opponent, Pheano Black, who brought, I believe, Azalea along with his partner, James Ceruleus Silver, who helps us out at Great Stories, Comics, and Games when we host these events there. Now, however, he's found himself on Gravy Bones' Shipwrecked Looter. Pheano is no stranger to board state decks. I believe he was a huge fan of Original Prism before she attained Living Legend status, and so it is no surprise to me that he finds himself on the Shipwrecked Looter here.
Yeah, and Justin, I think, has been on the Florian train for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, I think did play in US Nats on Florian. I don't think made day 2 because he was around to absolutely wreck me in the calling. So nevertheless, a solid split damage start here for Justin on turn 0.
Yeah, it's a rune chant generated on Grasp the Arknight and follow up with Enlightened Strike. Looks like the Chosen mode go again here. So 1 Arcane and 5 Physical. What is Justin going to do with the rest of this turn? You have to imagine that with 1 in the pitch, it's going to be a follow-up of that Reaping Blade.
Yeah, I think that's right. Pheano deciding not to present, unless I'm not counting something, any Arcane Barrier in this matchup. So that is just going to be 1 true damage heading Pheano's way on the Rune Chant. And
I think that is, in general, a pretty heads-up way to present your equipment suite against a Florian. I mean, now that Scepter of Pain has been banned, thanks to our teammates on the AGE Pro team, Alexander Vore, Evan Bridges, and John Zapata, making sure that that card doesn't see any more light in the sun after PQ season. You can kind of depend on Florian not to really kill you too quickly with arcane damage. He's got to be sending physical damage, and so you might as well make sure that your equipment suite ensures that your deck hums the way it should.
Yeah, I think that's right. And notably here, Pheano being forced to take 1 point of chip damage physically because he's got I believe a Limpet. That's an ally in hand, so no block value there. That's one thing that's I think a little bit makes the necromancer a little bit less maybe flexible than illusionists, traditional illusionists would be in the past, in that the board state cards are not available for their defensive value.
First action, not really action, but first thing that Pheano does affirmatively on his first turn of the game is activate Gravy Bones, discarding that Limpet that kind of rotted in the hand on that turn 0. Pheano also kind of showcasing or maybe foretelling what is going to be in the deck. There's a big debate in the Gravy Bones community. How many golden tipples do you run? And the fact that Pheano blocked with a yellow 1 on turn 0 implies that he's on the full suite of 9.
Yeah, I didn't know you were such a connoisseur of the Gravy Bones community, but I think that's a really it's one of those cards that it can be very, very good when it lines up really well, but potentially a little bit inconsistent.
Speaking of another good card, it's Conqueror of the High Seas. High Tide has been activated thanks to the 2 blues that are in the pitch for Pheano Black. 8 go again here, threatening that arsenal that Justin painstakingly established on turn 0. He does, however, have plenty of blocking cards in the hand behind that shoulder. And one of them, however, is a Cadaverous Tilling, another contentious card in the Florian Rotwood Harbinger deck.
And Conqueror of the High Seas, doesn't this just feel like one of those cards that we're going to be seeing for the next few years of our lives? To the extent that there are pirates around, just the raid on it, the arsenal disruption on a go again body, really, really cool card thus far. And here, Justin covering it all up. That is, of course, the major downside to Conqueror as opposed to traditional CNC is your D-reacts do not become valueless.
Okay, Call to the Grave is the follow-up for Pheano Black here, which means that a blue will have entered his graveyard, and he'll have access to Limpet Hopalong, and of course, whatever he finds in the deck to accompany her.
What do you think it's going to be?
I don't think it's going to be Chum here. Pheano has not activated Dead Threads, and he has no cards left in hand, which means that he has access to 3 resources here. Makes me think that it might be... let's see. He'll want to bring out Limpet, swing with Limpet, and then use 2 more. So I tend to think that it's going to be a Sawbones. However, Pheano proving me wrong and finding immediately that Diamond Amulet and hovering. So it's not going to be a perfectly resource efficient play for Pheano Black in terms of what he decides to establish from the graveyard if he does choose that Diamond Amulet. And no, it is a Sawbones, so Pheano proving me right in the end.
Nice job. Yeah.
Feeling like Alton Brown on Iron Chef right now.
Yeah, I think that's really emblematic of what makes this new Gravy Bones hero so cool, is that what seems like hundreds of and we're gonna go ahead and address this slow camera work here, but there we go, we're fixed now. Just the what feels like hundreds of decision points throughout one single game, and that is what's so exciting about seeing really skilled players pilot this hero, is that, you know, I as somebody who is not a connoisseur of Gravy Bones in the same way you are, Bryce, would have no idea what they're going for on that first call to the grave.
Listen, these board state decks, even though I am probably not going to be a Gravy Bones player myself, I tend to think that you need to know the ins and outs of their decision points, especially if you want to target them, right? Like, in the way, it's not like a Guardian where you can kind of just take whatever comes your way. I think board state decks require of the opponent, the one that wants to take them down, at least a surface level understanding of the deck, so you know what is coming your way, and that then informs the way in which you address all of these allies in the ways that you beat up the board state of the opponent. And Justin is doing exactly that. Looks like both the Sawbones and the Limpet are cleared up on Justin's turn. 38 plays 38. Back to Pheano.
And I think that's a very nice draw there for Justin to be able to draw up this sort of hands. I don't traditionally think of Florian as a deck that can consistently go wide, but obviously there are options to do that. You've got Swarming Gloomveil in addition to that, I believe it Rune Ranger Swarm. So Justin doing a great job there, making sure that Pheano can't capitalize too much on his ally presence. And then, of course, Pheano leading off here with Murderous Rabble, which is our newest blue that converts for 3 offensive value. Which I think the power of and value that you get from a card such as that, really, I think some of the best Flesh and Blood decks we see are ones that can generate and get, you know, sort of quote unquote real card value out of their blues. And that's what made Enigma so powerful, and Part the Mistveil so powerful. And I think that Gravy Bones is well situated to be able to do that with this Murderous Rabble card.
Yeah, Murderous Rabble, and then looks like Pheano is gesturing towards that Mage Master Boots. Yes, indeed, it is going to be Rigor Mortis resolved. I think that was out of the hand, which means that Pheano might have a bit of a brick. Usually this Mage Master Boots wants to be employed when you have a plethora of allies in the graveyard. In this case, however, just kind of trying to smooth out what is an otherwise awkward texture for Pheano.
And I believe so Rigor Mortis should have 1 floating resource, I believe, since he pitched a blue. So 1 into Mage Masters, followed by 1 into Rigor Mortis. Maybe just going to swing here to be able to get full value and pitch the card in Arsenal. Difficult to tell here as our seems our stream is being a little bit uncooperative for us here. Oh, Pheano sending a little note to the chat there. Well, fortunately, I guess, Pheano, there you could have done nearly anything, and I don't think we would have been able to catch it because some fortuitous stream slowage there. But Pheano, nevertheless, ending his turn with Rigor Mortis, which is a dangerous ally. It'll require a full card from Justin to clear up, and a card in Arsenal.
Not a bad setup here for Pheano Black. Definitely not really the turn he wanted to cash his boots in for, but in this case, Justin has a pretty smooth clapback. It's an activation of Grasp of the Arcanite with Swarming Gloomveil, which means that we've got 3 go again on this mainstay Rune Blade attack, and also 1 true damage in the form of that Rune Chant, thanks to the fact that Pheano does not have any Arcane Barrier to speak of. It looks like Justin chose Pheano as the target here. 35 plays 37, currently barely in the favor of our Shipwrecked Looter, who's drawn up a pretty good blocking hand as far as I can tell. It looks like there are absolutely no allies in there.
So he's got 1 Eye of Ophidia in there. I think it's a proxy, so a little hard to see. But otherwise, yeah, full blocking hand. I do want to know, we don't have Justin's deck list available to us quite yet, but I would not be surprised to see, in addition to the 3 Swarming Gloomveil, I would expect perhaps 3 Rune Ranger Swarms as well, just to be able to have the sort of turns that we're seeing where you can go multiple chain links wide, which again is not something that Florian is traditionally super well equipped to do. So Pheano here leading off with another Conqueror of the High Seas. I almost called it Command and Conquer. Going to place a lot of pressure here on Justin's arsenal yet again, but again, no text here regarding the prevention of a defense reaction. So maybe Justin's been a little heads up there and parked a defense reaction in arsenal. Let's see.
Certainly what he wants to be doing, especially because he has not had a single decompose yet this game.
Mm-hmm. But he's tanking on it, so it's making me feel like it's not. And oh, there he goes, deploying the Face Purgator.
And what a great use of it that is. In this case, Pheano did not keep a card in hand. Luckily able to play around that Face Purgatory a little bit. Justin just trying to capitalize on the draw clause of that card, see if he can smooth this hand out just a little bit. He's going to keep it hidden from us, but that's okay because we can be on the side of Pheano as well and just wait for what is to come. Right now, it's a trot along in the pitch. Yes, indeed, an activation of Grasp of the Arknight and sending Cadaverous Tilling. What a great way to start your decomposition.
Yeah, he heard you saying he wasn't decomposing yet and answered roundly. So we'll have two there, 1/4 of the way toward the minigame as he presents 1 true damage in addition to 8 physical damage. We'll be curious to see how much of this, if any, Pheano chooses to block out.
8 coming back to Pheano in the form of a bit of a less threatening attack here after he threw 8 at the brother of Gottlieb. Pheano checks the top of the deck with that Compass of the Sunken Depths. Still contemplating how to deal with this 8. Looks like there's it's all blocking cards in the hand of Pheano Black. Not really finding too many allies right now. The only yellow there is the Prismatic Leyline.
It looks like we might have the Riches of Tropeldani, perhaps. It's a little hard to tell from our angle on the camera here, but that would be one, albeit not a blocking card, but a card you're very happy to see, as currently Pheano has no gold available to him. I will say that seems to be a limitation, not just on Gravy, but on all of the High Seas heroes, that you're sort of priced into playing Crown of Dominion in order to have your gold generation in the first instance, because each of these decks really, really needs that gold.
Tip the Barkeep, the only blocking card there, which means that Pheano descends on down to 31. He's got 4 life points separating him from Justin Gottlieb, and Justin bought himself a little bit of extra time on that 40-turn clock from the Grasp of the Arknight.
One of the things I really find interesting about Gravy is I wonder if when you're the Gravy player and you use Compass, are you ever in the situation when traditionally you're doing it on your opponent's turn where you were like, wow, I've completely forgotten now that we're on my turn. And of course that information's no longer good because the Call to the Grave will shuffle. And we have our first chum of the game. I sort of feel, I would imagine, that Florian is decently well positioned to be able to take care of a chum. Do you have any thoughts on that, Bryce?
I think the difficulty becomes when the Gravy player is able to resolve both chum and another ally, because I think Florian being kind of not really an action point rich deck, you have issues removing both the chum and whatever comes after. Pheano following up that Call to the Grave with a Chart the High Seas, hitting 2 cards, not the 2 that he probably wanted. He's going to generate 2 gold tokens because he found 2 yellows on the top. So no extra pitch there. Pheano giving a bit of a laugh, thinking, yeah, I really wanted that to be a blue pitch in the zone for me. He's got 1 card left to use, and he's got an Anka in the graveyard as well as chum. Yes, it's going to be a pitch of the Riches of Tropeldani to generate a gold token and also resolve Anka Drag Under. An activation of the Dead Threads and the Gold Baited Hook means that Anka is coming in for 5 on hit, create a gold token.
And do you think, Pheano flashed us that sign and let us know he's still learning this deck, so absolutely no criticism of the play so far. But do you think maybe in that case, if you're the Gravy player and you have the Call to the Grave in your hand, maybe you hold off on using Compass until after you've resolved the Call to the Grave?
I'm sure that Compass is like a huge part of understanding the Gravy matchup, at least as the pilot. Like, when do I Compass? If I have an ally in my hand, I should definitely activate Gravy first, because it doesn't matter what's on top of the deck. I'm activating Gravy no matter what, so I might as well wait and see what's on top of the deck later. It's really contextual based on your hand, I think, based on my experience in the limited environment. But it's definitely one of those things that separates a good Gravy player from a masterful Gravy player.
Gotcha. Well, I would love to become even a good Gravy player because this deck does seem really difficult. Here, Justin choosing to just take the ally damage, which is a route I tend to do as well, because we do see a nice enabler of a go wide turn here in E-Strike up in Justin's hand.
And Justin descends on down to 30. The life totals swing this way and that. Excuse me, Justin is at 31 here. 31 plays 31 as we lead off with a Arcane Seeds life. That's probably why he added +1 to that life total there. 2 rune chance generated off of the Arcane Seeds, part of that meld card, and of course, a Swarming Gloomveil, the second of this game, coming at Pheano Black. 2 modes active here, so 4 go again. 2 true damage leaks right on through as Pheano decides how to block this out.
I note the Sunken Treasure in Pheano's hand here. I'm not sure Justin has played any yellows thus far, or if he even has yellows to play, so don't know if it really behooves Pheano to hang on to that card to try to get the gold value out of it. He is, of course, quite gold rich at this moment, but as I find in late games, Gravies tend to sort of do some pitch fishing and end up very quickly from having 4 or 5 gold to 1 or even 0. So maybe valuing holding on to that card a bit longer.
Wow, I'm seeing double, if not triple. It's the 3rd Swarming Gloomveil coming out of the hand of Justin Gottlieb, which means that his deck is even more starved for action points at this point, but he is really putting the hurt on Pheano Black. 10 life points now separate these two players after the Reaping Blade and the 3rd and final Swarming Gloomveil connect. It's back over to Pheano. 21 plays 31.
I wonder if Justin heard me saying that his deck has issues going wide and has just completely dispelled any notion that he was not capable of doing that, because he's doing an excellent job so far, and not just clearing up allies, but Pheano is pretty close to half life at this point. So I think Justin doing a pretty good job of navigating the matchup thus far, albeit Pheano does have maybe one of his scarier allies in graveyard at his disposal.
Golden Tipple, the first one resolved on the side of Pheano Black, comes in the red. 3 go again, shored up by a channel, the Millennium Tree. Pheano then activating Gravy Bones, immediately removing that gold token generated by the Golden Tipple and discarding a Whaler Humperdinck, one of those cards that really make Florian players tremble. I mean, like, you do not want to be fiddling around too long when one of those is on the board. That's probably going to require an entire turn from Justin Gottlieb to remove if Pheano is able to establish it.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's Justin blocking with this channel, the Millennium Tree there, which is maybe, I guess not, maybe Channel Mount Heroic, a way to do it. I suppose an E-Strike 2-card hand could also take care of a Whaler, but my point is more so it does take some sort of finesse to be able to answer that cleanly. It's not a guarantee on any matchup, so a very scary ally to have, and perhaps Pheano electing to save it for the end game, which is when it's at its most ferocious.
Flying high into Resolve Anka, Swing Anka for Pheano Black. This one is backed up by that gold-baited hook. It's 5 go again thanks to that Flying High. Does not have the buff because it's not blue, but it is threatening a gold token thanks to that gold-baited hook. And Justin in the tank. Let's see what he's working with. I do see the first Felling of the Crown that he's been able to draw. I think he's lining up a block on the second channel, the Millennium Tree. Not what he wants to see. That's exactly the card that he wants to be using to put the hurt on Pheano Black and making it so that he doesn't have the space to establish these allies. However, having to block with 2 on the same turn is not where you want to be.
And the Flying High enabling, I believe, the go again, right? So Pheano likely going to play out another ally here, or at least that's what I would think. So maybe Justin figuring, my next turn, this tree is maybe just going at an ally anyway, so I might as well shore up some damage.
Yeah, and this is that board state that is much more difficult for Florian to answer, because a lot of those action point turn extenders have already been used out of the deck, and Pheano has himself not only an Anka Drag Under, but also a Chum, thanks to drawing another blue off of a gold and activating Dead Threads on the previous turn. So that is 9 points of life that you need to address on your opponent's board before you go towards that life total any further.
And Justin finding himself in the position I find myself in quite frequently, which is what I call the, what does this one do again position, as he has to read the life totals on the Chum and the Anka here. I believe Chum having 6, if I'm correct, and Anka 5.
3. 3 life.
Okay. See what we're learning. So I would imagine here, to the extent Justin, Chum basically makes it so you cannot ignore the allies. So I imagine Justin's turn is going to look like clear up Chum and live to fight another day.
I think it's going to be swing this Felling of the Crown at Chum, unfortunately. Decompose is not going to be a problem here because we've seen 2 Earth cards enter the grave just on that previous turn. And Justin going aggressive with it. He's going to find 3 Earth cards out of the grave. He's not worried about being Earth card rich in his graveyard this game, ascending to 5 Earth cards in the banished zone, and he's only 1 Decompose away from turning on that Florian hero ability.
And it's great that he does still get the way Fouling is, the wording is templated. He still makes Pheano tuck here. It's not as if he had to have targeted Pheano to be able to get it. So getting his value from Fouling, and I think showing really like why Florian and Verdance are such strong heroes, because they have access to that powerful card.
Oh, and the 3rd Channel the Millennium Tree finds its way into the hand of Justin Gottlieb after drawing a 2nd copy of Felling of the Crown. So he's a little bit red-locked here. His cards are clumping in a way that I kind of haven't seen in a long time. I mean, all 3 Swarming Gloom Veils were resolved in 2 turns. All 3 Channel the Millennium Trees found in 2 turn cycles.
Yeah, and he's got 2 Fouling. Yeah, did you say Foulings? Well, he has 2 Foulings as well. It's a classic case of maybe round 1 didn't shuffle well enough, but here we're in round 2, so clearly that's not the case. Nevertheless, to your point, very unfortunate here, as after this block, Justin will be without Channel the Millennium Tree, which is probably his easiest way of closing out the late game.
Golden Tipple is covered up by that 3rd copy of Channel the Millennium Tree. Pheano Black checks the top of the deck. It's another Golden Tipple. Couldn't quite catch what color it was, but he does want to draw it. He pops 1 gold in order to draw that Golden Tipple. Looks like it's the 3rd red in the deck, but he doesn't have an outlet for it. Perhaps destined for the arsenal here. And yeah, it's a Sunken Treasure, a Loot the Hold, and that 3rd copy of red Golden Tipple for Pheano Black here. He's got 2 allies in the bin. Yes, it's a Loot the Hold into Limpet Hop Along, and swinging Limpet Hop Along here. 2 go again, threatening a discard for Justin Gottlieb, and also a gold token on hit.
Loot the Hold has got to be the most nasty of the go again enablers, in that you're tempted whenever a Gravy can give their ally go again. It's a little bit unfortunate on the other side.
Go again will be conferred by Limpet Hop Along's text. She just has go again. Loot the Hold just confers the disruptive text.
Gotcha.
Discard a card on hit and create a gold token.
Well, yeah.
The follow-up here is activate Gold Baited Hook and swing Anka, drag under 5 power. Physical at Justin Gottlieb, threatening a gold token generation thanks to that hook. And yeah, it does look like the last copy of Golden Tipple is destined for the arsenal for Pheano Black.
Here, Justin blocking, I believe he's got 2 cards in hand here. So maybe just priced into clearing up one of these allies.
It is a Felling of the Crown in hand. Does he have a card behind that? I don't think he does.
Maybe just going to pitch stack it and swing his sword here to clean up Limpet would be, or I'm sorry, Anka, right?
Probably Anka,
Anka,
yeah.
As at 3 life.
Are you an Anka guy or an Anka guy?
I think I'm an Anka guy just based on reflex. But in either case, it's dead now, or I guess permanently dead, whatever happens after the Risen go back. But I like this play by Justin. You knew he was going to have, his turn was going to be just 1 swing anyway, so why not keep your most powerful endgame card, especially now that your Channel the Millennium Trees are all in the past.
And also go ahead and keep the board state in check, removing that, what I would say, Anka, because it kind of sounds more like anchor.
You know what? That's probably right, but I've already pinned myself down, and I'm not going to back down.
I respect that about you, Patrick. That's what makes you so greasy. Pheano Black lining up a blue card in the pitch zone. He's got 4 cards in hand and 1 in the arsenal with which to work. Has he found himself an ally? No, indeed. So that Golden Tipple in the arsenal kind of rotting alongside his zombie friends. What is he going to do with this turn?
Well, starting off with some gold, some classic hand fixing on the side of Gravy here, and not a bad draw.
We saw Noah Bagelman draw a Wrath of Retribution off of a Mask of Momentum trigger. Pheano Black finding himself a Conqueror of the High Seas on the top of the deck after popping a gold token. Yeah, it looks like High Tide is going to be active here. I tend to think that he is lining up this Conqueror of the High Seas. No, first it's going to be one more draw off the top of the deck. Fighting an Avast. That is a go-again enabler for our allies.
And I think maybe Pheano here just really hoping to see a yellow for the follow-up tipple. I may be thinking lead with the tipple, follow up with the Conqueror of the High Seas, and then start your sort of ally shenanigans. But thus far, no luck.
Man, he is blue rich, though. There's two still floating in the pitch. Yeah, we're going to start off with Limpet Hop Along. I like this play. You want to hide as much information as possible. It's like when you're playing Dromai, you wanted to send Ashwings here and there whenever you could before the big dragons come in, or that final haymaker of like a Command and Conquer Cadaverous Contraband.
Yeah, I agree. Anything you can do to present your opponent with an opportunity to step on their own foot, you definitely want to capitalize on that here. And Pheano earning himself a whole card, so 1 point of value sort of generated in quotation marks there.
Yeah, Justin might be stepping on his own feet, like you were mentioning his dancing shoes not doing so well, because the follow-up here is probably going to be Conqueror of the High Seas, threatening that arsenal and even more gold for Pheano Black. But how is he going to sequence this turn? Looks like the Avast does find its way into the pitch zone. No more floating after 3 cards have been pitched. It's Conqueror of the High Seas. 8 go again, and Justin is not looking happy about it here.
Yeah, and you got to think Justin, if Pheano had led with the Conqueror, maybe would have preferred not to have committed the Autumn Touch to the Limpet block. I'm speculating. I don't know quite what's in Justin's hand, but I might imagine, because 8 damage is going to require... Justin can't really give his whole hand, because then any dream of getting rid of Limpet is gone. So he can only commit 2 cards from hand, which means he's going to have to either block with his chess piece or use, I believe his boots are alive now. Yeah, his boots are alive. So unfortunate. I think if maybe in revisionist, Justin might have preferred to hold on to Autumn's Touch and commit 3 cards to this ship.
Pheano, however, gets to just lean back, touch his hair a little bit, and just watch his opponent writhe. And this is a card that is going to make opponents all over the worlds of Wraith very, very sad every time it's resolved.
Pheano putting on a Head and Shoulders commercial for us in the back. Got to respect the mane. nice and high, like this tide. Justin really in the tank here, and I can understand why. I don't quite remember what's in the arsenal. I don't know if we have that information.
It's been a long time since it's been placed there.
And sure enough, having to give up the boots to block that last 2 points of damage.
Yeah, usually you want a more cheeky play for the well-grounded. In this case, however, it is blocking 2 damage and also saving you at least 3 value from that card in arsenal. Looks like Justin really wants to protect it. And I generally think it's the one copy of Channel Mount Heroic for these Florian decks nowadays, so I tend to think it's not one of those in the arsenal. Time will tell. Let's see if Justin is able to ever resolve it. And putting the 4th blue into the pitch zone this turn, despite the fact that he still has 2 cards in hand and the 1 in arsenal.
Yeah, wondering. It would be great for Pheano if he could place another ally on the board now, because based just on the way Justin is blocked, he knows that he's probably just at most sending 3 damage back. So two allies would obviously be completely unable to clear with just 1 swing.
The gas keeps on coming. It's Loot the Hold into Golden Tipple. There is no discard here for Pheano, so no gold generated and no card drawn. He just wants to put as much hurt on Justin as possible. Wow. Playing out Loot the Hold and not resolving an ally there. Also, Pheano put his Limpet Hop Along into the graveyard.
Yeah, hopefully
I think that was a mistake. Yeah, Justin is being a good-mannered gentleman and helping him out.
He's like, I'm about to kill that, so just wait 5 seconds for me to do it, and you can continue.
She'll go to her watery grave. I promise you that. Just give me a minute. And yes, it is an activation of Grasp of the Arknight, swing Reaping Blade into Limpet Hop Along, and shoring up that board state. It is curious. Pheano is still sitting on that Whaler Humperdinck, probably waiting for the moment that Give No Quarter rears its head out of the deck. But I tend to think that was a potential opportunity to establish that really fearsome ally and even swing with it. I mean, he had so many cards in the pitch zone.
Yeah, and maybe saving it for making the choice to save it for the late game as well. Here it looks like we're starting off with a Gravy activation, maybe filter out some of those. We got at least 1 hero there. And the return of Limpet.
Limpet, Hop Along, the second coming. Pheano also finds himself with a Prismatic Leyline, one of those cards that can push massive amounts of damage in this Gravy Bones deck. But he's already seen all 3 copies of Red Golden Tipple and also 2 copies of Conqueror of the High Seas. So probably not going to get the maximum 6 value on that Prismatic Leyline, but nevertheless, if you can swing 1 blue and a yellow, that is still plenty for your troubles.
That's 5, right? It's inverse, so
correct.
Not a bad card at a yellow pitch, nonetheless. One of those cards that I heard a lot of smack talk said about it when it first was printed. I believe in Heavy Hitters, or was it part the Mistveil? In either case, not a lot of naysayers on that card. Seems like has found its natural home in this Gravy Bones deck.
Without a doubt. Chum, Friendly First Mate, going into the pitch zone for Pheano Black. A blue has entered the grave, even though it is represented on the combat chain here. That was that Portside Exchange. So all Watery Grave cards in Pheano's graveyard are unlocked, but 1 more blue comes out of the hand. It's Murderous Rabble, finding a blue golden tipple off the top. Pheano still has not resolved that Prismatic Leyline, which means that he just didn't feel confident in doing so this turn, perhaps thinking that it is better destined for the arsenal here. Murderous Rabble comes in for 3 go again.
Yeah, an astute observation there, Bryce. I think that I was saying about Murderous Rabble a bit ago, but I'll reiterate here. It's really, I think, a testament to how strong this deck can be that this Murderous Rabble is able to be converted for a whole 3 points of damage, despite also being a blue pitch itself. So a card I've been very, very impressed with here. Pheano shortcutting a little bit, but playing out another golden tipple to create another gold and draw a card.
So it was paid for. Chum paid for the gold token to draw a card. Dead Threads then paid for that blue golden tipple. 1 damage comes across to Justin, who descends on down to 23. Currently 20 plays 23. In the favor of our Rotwood Harbinger, but man, those allies are being amassed in the graveyard. He's got to be trembling in his boots for what is to come.
Yeah, if I believe when Justin sees a Give No Quarter played out of Pheano's hand, maybe his heart will sink, or at least mine would, because just of the amount of pressure that's going to mean. That being said, we can see Pheano's hand. It's not there at this time, at least.
And this is exactly what you want to see if you're on Justin's side of the board. Even though Pheano has 4 allies with which to work in the graveyard, he's pitching a ton of yellows. So the maximum pain is probably not going to be on offer here right now. It's just Resolve Rigor Mortis, Swing Rigor Mortis, 6 power with the gold baited hook. A proposition that has no downside for Pheano because he has already created a gold token on this turn.
And I think it's playing against Gravy. One of the key decision points is, when am I blocking out the gold-bladed hook triggers when a gold has already been created? At what point is it worth blocking out a card that I would not have otherwise blocked out because of the on-hit for gold that it presents? And I think it's really relevant to how much gold they already have. Here, Justin noting Pheano's already at 2, maybe not seeing a huge difference between 2 and 3.
And what he is seeing the difference in, however, is his hero's text box, because finally there is something written there. This Rootbound Carapace in the red, after decomposing 3 Earth cards, is going to bring Florian Rotwood Harbinger online, which means that every time Justin creates an aura token, he's going to create an additional one for his troubles. Players confirming life totals here, making sure that everything is above board and lined up. In this case, Justin should be taking 2 after this. Is all said and done. And looks like, yeah, they had it correct before, even before the Rigor Mortis connected with Justin's face. 21 plays 20, still in the favor of our Earth Rune Blade.
And hopefully that mix-up doesn't mean Pheano misses his gold trigger here. But in any case, this hero text being online, Florian, to your point, is huge, not just in general, because it's incredibly above rate, but because as we noted at the start of the match, Pheano has no AB. So that's going to be turn everything from 1 true damage to 2 true damage every single turn. And I think not the fastest clock, but presents a real clock that Justin will have as he does the ally clearing minigame.
And hey, if we're talking about a clock, what was previously a 20-turn clock is now a 10-turn clock. And also, Justin has found himself an action point generator here. Rune Ranger Swarm looks like 3 damage coming at Pheano Black right now. 3 go again, probably going to be followed up with the Reaping Blade to clear out Rigor Mortis, but time will tell as Pheano tanks on blocks.
You said earlier today that you expect only one Channel Mount Heroic from most Florian builds. I wonder if this new texture of build would warrant the inclusion of more than one. Just because if you're playing that many Rune Ranger swarms and E-strikes and the like, you wonder if you can't get a ton of value from that.
Either way, Pheano trying to cash in the value that he can right now. Gold-baited hook blocks 1 on Rune Ranger Swarm when there was no relevant on-hit. Pheano perhaps detecting the moment is nigh when he's going to have to start aggressively activating that hook, and he doesn't want to have lost the defensive value if he loses it. Justin earning a little bit of damage here and also clearing up one of those zombies. Pheano Black down to 16 here as he activates Gravy Bones and discards Sawbones out of the hand. That was his only ally going into this turn. And now, yes, he has found himself with 4 blues in the hand.
And Bryce, one of them that he drew is a Give No Quarter, in addition to, I think he just showed us a Give No Quarter in his arsenal. So I think Armageddon has is that not right?
It was an Avast Yi in the arsenal, which still is really, really bad for Justin, which means that not only is Pheano going to be able to resolve some really discounted allies on this turn, he's also going to be able to give them go again and swing super hard. This might be the moment when we finally see Whaler Humperdinck.
This is what Pheano has been playing for. There's the heart sink moment I was talking about a bit ago. I think all that remains to be seen is which of these allies Pheano is able to deploy, but they will come out, and likely more than one.
Pheano checking the top of the deck, perhaps to see if he wanted to resolve that Chart the High Seas. He did find the blue, but instead opts to put that blue card in the pitch. Whaler Humperdinck resolved here, thanks to the fact that Give No Quarter has essentially pitched for 3. Pheano then putting 2 additional blues in the pitch zone and swing Whaler Humperdinck. There's no more resources left for Pheano, save for the one that could be generated by Dead Threads, because yes, Sawbones has been put into the graveyard this turn, but for now, Whaler Humperdinck coming in for 11. Go again.
Yeah, and that's just more than half of Justin's life total. So, I mean, I think the math you do on the other side of this is you say, which of these cards do I need to clear out this ally to the extent I can? And I think you block with the rest.
And I think that leftmost card is a Cadaverous Tilling, which means that Justin has access to removal of that Whaler Humperdinck. The question now is, how much further can Pheano go on offense here? The worst case scenario for Justin, which is entirely possible in Florian, is that he has a hand that literally cannot do 7 damage and remove this fearsome ally. In this case, he can be bailed out by that leftmost card in hand.
Big news for the Justin fans out there. I will say, and I'm relying on you here as the gravy connoisseur, this Avasti does present a on-hit, right? Which one is that again?
It's on-hit gold token. The most important part of that card is that it gives this ally attack go again.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Which means that Pheano will be able to resolve, based on the heroes that he the allies that he has in Grave, all he has access to is resolving a Limpet hop along after this attack goes through, and go through it has Justin descends all the way down to 14, now at a 2-life deficit to Dr. Bones on the other side of the table. Give No Quarter was resolved. So with Dead Threads, Pheano can resolve Chum, Friendly First Mate, an incredibly clean turn and a fearsome board for Justin now to deal with.
And this is brutal now, because if Justin plays out the Arcane Seed's life before trying to kill Whaler Humperdinck, Pheano can respond by using Chum and meaning, hey, you're not killing Whaler Humperdinck this turn. You are priced into killing Chum. Let's see if that's something that Justin accounted for when doing his blocking math.
It doesn't look like Pheano has an ally in hand, though. So he wouldn't have been able to do that. Justin, however, making the very heads-up play of just swinging the Cadaverous Tilling and not risking an activation of Chum right there. So bit of an IP penalty for the Gottlieb on the left side of your screen, but nevertheless, a strong play there. And yes, Patrick, there is another copy of Channel Mount Heroic in this Florian build, and Justin has just drawn it.
But unless I'm mistaken, the thing I don't see in Justin's hand is a card that pitches for 3, which is going to be a bit of a problem if he's going to send. It's a little hard to see that second card from the left, but
it's a yellow. You're right. It's a plow under.
So a little bit scary for Justin potentially here, especially if he's going to be his hand otherwise would lend itself really well to cleanup duty. Don't know how much of that is going to be an option.
The deck not exactly cooperating for Justin here, and you can see the posture. Head kind of turned down, gripping his cards like they are the last bastion for Justin clinging to life here. Pheano on the aggression here. 16 plays 14, only 13 minutes left in this round 2 of 6 at Arcane Games and Events Open in June, New England.
And that's another complexity of playing this gravy deck, is it seems so hard to play, and also your clock is not necessarily the fastest. So, it's really, I think, quite punishing for the newer players to this deck to be able to figure out what are the best lines, how do I do it as quickly as possible so that I can actually finish my match.
Avasji goes into the grave, unlocks all of the Watery Grave allies, and then Pheano resolves Sawbones, pitching an Eye of Ophidia. Opting 2 right here, seeing what he sees, one of those cards revealed off the eye is Chart the High Seas and then Sea Legs, which means that Pheano could be lining up, with the help of some gold tokens, a nasty Chart the High Seas resolution. In this case, however, he's going to lead off with Sawbones. Dockhand coming in for 6 go again, thanks to the Avasji resolved earlier this turn.
And Justin's going to need to do some noodling here on how he can convert this hand. Or he's mindful of the fact that he didn't had to issue himself an IP penalty essentially last turn because of some blocking, perhaps decisions that could have been a little bit more ideal. Maybe not wanting to make that same mistake again.
Blocking looks like 6 here, thanks to, thank you, 7. Thanks to Barskin of the Millennium Tree being devoted to the block here. 2 embodiments of Earth generated there. Short up completely, which means that Pheano does not generate a gold token on that swing of the Sawbones. Following up with Limpet Hop Along. Should not have go again. No go again on the resolution of Limpet herself, which means that a card goes into the arsenal. Pheano has a bit of an IP penalty on his own, and it's back over to Justin to see if he can do a little bit of Left 4 Dead cosplay and kill some zombies.
Going IP penalty for IP penalty trading here, and I find that's a situation that does happen quite a good amount, not just as gravy, but blocking against the gravy for the reasons that we've seen demonstrated for us so cleanly on stream here.
Looks like it's an activation of Chum here as the embodiments of Earth get destroyed. This is an important thing to note. If you are an Earth player, folks, this was an interaction that was really important in the Icelander days. The embodiments of Earth that Briar would generate would pop at the beginning of the turn, thereby giving a priority window to the Ice Wizard for her to establish a Frostbite and really screw up your turn. So one of those interactions that you need to be incredibly aware of if you tend to generate embodiments of Earth. In this case, Pheano cashing in that opportunity to activate Chum, Friendly First Mate, which means that no matter what Justin does on this turn, offensively, it's going to have to go at Chum.
Yeah, heads up play by Pheano there to understand that interaction. Justin still, nevertheless, will be able to leak damage to Pheano, and 4 damage, which is not, it's a quarter of Pheano's life here to place additional pressure while still being forced to attack this Chum.
Arcane Seed's life resolved here. 4 Rune Chants coming at Pheano Black, despite the fact that Rune Ranger Swarm is going at Chum, Friendly First Mate, which means that, unfortunately, Justin is probably just going to have to activate Grasp of the Arknight and swing Reaping Blade at Chum to clean up the rest of that ally. Pheano is going to have plenty to work with on his turn in terms of offensive capability, but the Rune Chants keep coming.
Yeah, and this is where not having a blue is also painful, because if that were a blue in his hand instead of a yellow, he could, I believe, use Grasp here before cleaning up Chum, which would have been another 2 damage going Pheano's way. So a little bit disappointing for Justin here, but nevertheless, happy enough to just get rid of the most annoying ally that Gravy has.
And this is the difficulty that Florian and any slow deck faces into a board state monster like Gravy Bones. Looks like there was an activation of Sawbones. Nevertheless, Chum is cleaned up there. Gone to the bin is our Friendly First Mate. Pheano lines up a pitch card for his first action on the turn. No, indeed, it's going to be an activation of Gravy Bones instead.
I haven't gotten a good look at Pheano's hand here. Do we have any allies to play with? It looks like a bunch of non-allies to me.
I don't think we do. He does, however, have Sea Legs, one of those really interesting generics printed in High Seas. Pheano can elect to go ahead and discard that here, and yes, he does, to create himself a handle of rum.
Looks like maybe a judge call here quickly happening on stream.
I think we are just confirming that gold tokens have been accounted for properly. Calling in our...
I think they were just looking for a rum token, maybe. And that's what this icy, princessy sort of token is replicating.
Makes sense to me. Pitching Riches of Tropal Donny for the second time this game, mind you, is Pheano Black to swing Limpet Hop Along. Gold token generated there. 2 go again, which Justin readily accepts. On down to 13. 13 plays 13, but this turn is far from over for Pheano Black. He's also drawn up that Diamond Amulet for the second time this turn, showing exactly how many times you can recur these the resources in the Gravy Bones deck because you're shuffling so much thanks to Call to the Grave and other effects like that.
You know what's the best part about playing a deck that shovels itself, right, Bryce?
What is it?
You don't have to learn how to pitch deck.
Oh, my friend, you are preaching to the choir. That's why I love playing Azaleas so much. Every time I knock the death whistle, it means I don't have to skill gap my opponent.
I wonder if, and here we get the real Gold Kiss Rum token here. I wonder if this turn presents the opportunity that we've sort of been waiting for here, where no, I guess not. I'm wondering if we're going to see this Humperdinck before this game reaches a natural conclusion, or I guess this timer reaches a natural conclusion, because we are running quite low on time here.
Yeah, both players are going to have to keep up the pace. Honestly, the onus in that regard is on Gravy Bones here, because there are just so many more decision points for Gravy to consider than Florian in this position.
Yeah, and I wouldn't chance it to say I could read Justin's mind here, but I'm thinking Justin has a good hand that he already knows what to be doing with, just based on the energy he's giving out. And I wonder if that's, and we see the opportunity to go 2 chain links wide here, at least with the E-Strike in hand. So this is a very interesting point for me in the game. At what point do you ignore the allies, or at what point do you just you start devoting your resources to clear them up? Sawbones is really hard to ignore because it's effectively arcane barrier for Pheano Black. So I wonder here which Justin will prioritize.
And Pheano, at this point, is also incredibly action point rich. He's established not only a Gold Kiss Rum, but also a Diamond Amulet, which will buy him an action point and also unlock his graveyard whenever he chooses. In this case, Justin resolving an Enlightened Strike with Go Again. This is really going to determine his strategy for the rest of this game, and there's just not much of it left. It's 5 minutes and 20 seconds remaining on the clock. It looks like this E-Strike is going for Pheano, but we still have Rune Chance with which to deal, so time will tell.
I think that's right, Bryce. I think this is heading to Pheano. I think making the decision that I do not have the time in this game to be able to clear up your allies and then also kill Pheano. So it's I don't disagree with this. In either case, these players are going to have to make some quicker decisions, I think, here, if we're going to see a natural conclusion.
Okay, down to 6 goes Pheano Black, and a Gravekeeping, a really juicy bit of tech coming out of the hand of Justin Gottlieb, which means that Whaler Humperdinck is just not going to get resolved this game. So that's 2 that Justin has killed. 1 in the natural way of physical removal, in this case, a banish off of the text of Gravekeeping. And yeah, it definitely seems like Justin wants to put his pedal to the metal for the rest of this game.
A little bit disappointed that we won't be able to see the big Whaler Humperdinck come down in this game, but nevertheless...
We saw one.
Did we?
Yeah,
yes,
we already saw one.
We did. All right, fine. So, I've been waiting on that second Whaler for quite a while, but nonetheless, spicy tech there from Justin, as I don't think... Gravekeeping seems like the natural answer, the sort of pre-printed answer that LSS gave us to Gravy Bones, but... I have not seen anybody actually deploy one yet, so it's interesting to see here. That felt very effective,
without a doubt, and that's definitely one of those cards that fits more into like the Ira mold because you've got those Kodachis. In the case of Florian, who's usually action point starved, it can be a bit clunky. Except I suppose if you just go Grasp of the Arknight, swing Gravekeeping. Anyway, it's back to Pheano. 6 plays 13 here after Pheano blocked out the Gravekeeping with 2 Sunken Treasures. Pheano now swinging in Limpet Hopalong and drinking some rum in order to make this Sawbones come in for 6 go again.
And note that Pheano did not use the Sawbones prevention ability on his last turn. So clearly evincing an intent to attack with not just one, but both Sawbones, which he's going to be able to do due to the extra action point generation he has available to him, both through the Gold Kiss Rum and from the Amulet.
And both players at this point dropping all pretense and sending everything face. This just became a high octane game in the last 3 minutes.
It sort of had to be, Bryce. These are two players who do not want to draw. They want to be able to win this game and understand the importance of that, and that's on display here.
Can't quite make out the rest of the hand for Justin Gottlieb, but he's got to have some offensive capability here. Pheano is definitely cashing in action points in order to do as much damage as possible. 6 plays 9, but Pheano is far from done. There's 2 cards in the hand. He's attempting to resolve a chart the high seas. It's 2 blues off the top. 1 goes into the pitch, 1 into the grave, and effectively that chart the high seas has just pitched for 3 at the cost of 2 cards in deck.
Not great. I mean, you do. I wonder if Pheano's fishing for an extra gold there to be able to draw towards a more natural endgame solution.
It might have been that last chum that he just drew off of a gold token that he was really looking for. Golden Tipple resolved out of the hand. It's in the blue, discarding chum friendly first mate, which means that Pheano is probably going to try to establish an even bigger board before swinging that second Sawbones, and also making it so that Justin has more difficult decisions on his next turn.
Yeah, and Justin choosing not to block here, which if Pheano resolves a chum and then has a way to activate chum on Justin's turn, Justin, unless he has a way to go wide, is going to be unable to send any pressure towards Pheano's life total.
Activating chum, a thing that is getting more and more difficult as Pheano digs through this deck. It looks like there's less than 10 cards there, and with the amount of blues that he's been pitching, I wonder how many allies are actually left in this deck.
Well, there's one, and it's committed to the pitch deck here to be able to play out the chum, which it looks like Pheano will send in for 4, and that will be actually the end of his turn. Oh wait, actually no, because so is that amulet? Can that be activated at instant speed?
It can be.
Okay, so not the end of his turn, and in fact, Pheano's going to be able to present lethal. So Justin's going to have to give a card.
You would be right, Patrick, but I don't think he has the pitch. Currently indicating no resources floating, and Sawbones, unfortunately, does cost 1. And I think that is a telltale sign as to why Pheano decided to send Chum instead of Sawbones, because Chum gets to swing for free.
Under a minute left. We're at the point where decisions, unfortunately for Justin, you're going to have to make a decision pretty quickly if he wants to be able to present.
Oh, and he's redlocked again for the second time this game. It's a Felling of the Crown and two meld cards in the hand. Am I right about that? I feel like we've seen so many Arcane Seeds live. No. One of them is a blue. Apologies, folks. Justin is going to be able to send a massive amount of Arcane on this next turn. If it weren't for those Sawbones, I think this would be lethal. Because yes, 2 Rune Chance generated here. Arcane Seeds generates 4 more, which means that 6 Arcane damage. But Pheano is sitting on 2 Sawbones dock hands, which means that he can just block 2 of those Rune Chants without even trying.
And this does feel like we're gonna run low on time, unfortunately. But this does feel like the sort of matchup that Justin may have been able to close out with additional time. I wonder. He's not going to be able to do it this turn, but it'll obviously depend on the texture of his next hand. But you have to imagine that Justin is likely favored in this position. Hard to tell with such a board of allies.
It is really tough to tell, especially after Justin has used so many of his go-again attacks out of the deck already. Both of these players really, really doing a good job in this matchup. Justin, gotta hand it to him. He has made it seem like Florian is no slouch into this Gravy Bones deck, despite the fact that his representation plummeted after the second week of Nationals. So
it seems like Pheano elected to go down to 1 there. I wonder if that's a decision that's based on, I think I have the ability to present lethal damage such that you can't create. I mean, I guess it's on Justin to keep a blue, to pitch, to grasp, and then swing his sword. Or maybe the player's just playing to the draw there. A little bit unclear, but nevertheless going down to 1, and here comes the judge now.
Yeah, probably calling turns at this point, asking for a concession. It's a difficult thing in Flesh and Blood because at this point in the game, when the judge calls time and you go to turns, before an action is taken, that is the moment that you have to decide whether or not you concede in this position. So the onus is probably on Pheano to figure that out based on the fact that Justin essentially has true damage on his side of the board. Pheano has to decide, can this Sawbones carry the day for me ultimately? Looks like first action has been resolved. Pitching Eye of Ophidia to swing Limpet Hop Along. Has he found Any of those allies? No, I think it's just the one Rigor Mortis left in deck. Instead, he's found Riches of Tropaldani and a back alley break line in the blue. So it's curious to see whether this one's going to go to the draw or not.
And I'm sorry, I know you just did this elegant explanation of the rules here. Will Justin get another turn after this, or is this just Pheano's turn to resolve here?
If that hand we saw reaching into Justin's player cam was the judge saying, okay, now you're at time, that does mean that Justin would get one more turn after this, which could be the deciding factor in this game.
Gotcha. And I am an L1 judge, folks, if that's not embarrassing enough for me.
I have yet to get my L0, but I kind of intend to one of these days. I would love to run a Learn to Play booth. Honestly, I would love to have them at AGE, and that is something we're actively working on.
You would be excellent in a Learn to Play booth.
Yeah, if only I wasn't yapping all day on camera.
Oh, that's what it's. Yeah, well,
that's the bigger issue.
You can yap IRL.
I like to lean on my vanity over my yearn to teach, I guess. It's a knock on me, not on anybody else. Looks like Chum, friendly first main, is covered up by Shelter from the Storm. How did this have go again? How did Chum? Oh, because of the back alley break line. The back alley break line was put into the pitch thanks to Chart the High Seas, which means that it generates an action point, which is a super cool interaction and exactly why Gravy Bones are running this card. Pheano going for blood right here. Looks like a resolution of Rigor Mortis. He's setting up an almost like chain bound by shadow end state here, where he is just cheating out action points over and over again, swinging these allies with reckless abandon. Oh, and Justin just doesn't have the cards to pitch to Grasp of the Arcanine either.
Yeah, I can't quite see the last card.
It's a Shelter from the Storm, which means that he's not dead here. Yeah, and Pheano cracking that diamond amulet, using the treasures that he has taken from the grave. And yes, it's a draw right here, folks. After all of that, after so much setup, so much posturing, it is a draw. Probably the first that we've seen on an AGE stream in some time now.
Yeah, I can't recall seeing one, and I think it sort of makes sense given the skill of the players involved, the complexity of the matchup, and the fact that these are two heroes that are really playing a slow, methodical sort of towards the end game. A little bit unfortunate, but I think it's sort of like a 0-0 game in soccer. When you can appreciate the nuance there and some of the skill that was expressed.
100%, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because if you're thinking that you want to pick up Gravy Bones, this is something that you are going to have to contend with down the line. Florian players have been used to going to time since his inception. That is a grindy value game kind of deck. If you're playing Gravy, not only do you have to overcome a very high skill gap to learn how to play the deck, you also have to be able to play it quickly. At any of these competitive events, you got 55 minutes, and that is absolutely it. So you have got to be making these decisions at a breakneck speed in order to avoid the draw, which, as you mentioned, Patrick, is definitely not where you want to be in Flesh and Blood.
And that's what makes Flesh and Blood, like soccer, a beautiful game. It rewards, there's so much complexity to it, there's so much depth, it rewards you coming back and learning the sort of micro learning at every stage, that you can play faster, you can play better, you can play leaner. So that's why we keep coming, that's why we keep playing.
Folks, we have just a little bit of time before round 3 is paired, because we did indeed go to time, and the stream match is a little bit behind the overall timer at Grave Troll Games. So we should take this moment to just mention that we've got a couple other events coming up. If you're seeing double, you are not wrong. We've got events on both seaboards happening on the exact same day next month. That's July 13th. Both the next AGE Open in New England and the next AGE Open in Los Angeles are happening on that Sunday. The Los Angeles at Top Deck Keep. The New England, we're back at Great Stories Comics and Games in Whitensville, Massachusetts. That should be a location that is very familiar to anybody playing in the New England scene. Furthermore, we also have an August Open scheduled for Los Angeles. That'll be August 9th back at Top Deck Keep in Riverside, California. By the end of the day today, we should be able to announce our next New England event in August, and that'll likely be back at Grave Troll Games, because we have no reason not to come back. Katie's been awesome. The location has been awesome. You heard it from Noel Bagelman after round 1. So why not come back?
Yeah, and we're obviously not quite there. We're not there with them, but the vibe in there is immaculate. I'm getting sort of like some high energy, but also library vibes from it. So there's a lot of hard work going into these games.
Any place where you can see Brother Gottlieb and Pheano Black grind out a game has got to have immaculate vibes.
Yeah, and boy, was that a grind. So we are, as Bryce mentioned, going to be quite short on time here before we jump into the next round 3 matchup, and we're looking forward to that.
Which is great news for you at home, folks, because the Flesh and Blood action does not stop. Do not go anywhere. We've got more Grindfest, more Brothers Gottlieb, and more Pheano Black after this.